this will be a really quick run through. I'm glad you guys all made it. For those of you who are watching the recording and joined at 1, I apologize. It will not happen again. We had some confusion with the times on Wix versus the flyer and all that, but we'll make sure we get you the recording, and we're gonna hop in now so we don't waste everyone's time. We're already 7 minutes in. All right, so you guys know us. Everyone that's here already knows who we are. So I will skip right on past this. So today we're going to be talking about how you can structure your work week for success. So I want you guys to be able to conquer your work week and just your day in general, because when you feel like you're not being productive or that you're not making progress, it's all up here. You start saying really mean things to yourself. You start lying to yourself and making excuses for yourself. And really what it is you lack visibility and direction. It's really simple things to solve for. That's a good thing and why we're here today. So let's get more productive and get more done, okay? So you guys have been to my workshops before. I always start with the housekeeping because it's very important. It's part of my brand and what it means to attend a Coloratic workshop, get ready to participate, be open to sharing, stay muted unless you are speaking, but you can definitely unmute at any time. Be aware of your background and surroundings, stay present. And if you have questions, which you will, feel free to unmute or ask in the chat. I have them all up. This is interactive. This is not Chrissy shouting out to the world what you need to be doing in your weekly planning, okay? This is interactive. So as you guys know, we do a Zoom warm-up. Make sure everybody knows how to use Zoom. In the chat, I would like you to say, how do you plan your week currently? Brandy says, I don't. Aw, that's why I'm here. She put a little sad face. It's okay. It's okay. This is a really easy thing to give you a lot of ease. I feel planning just a little bit. Kelly, you don't plan either? Okay, Ashita, of course. Meetings and work block, but work overflows, so it gets all messy. Gabby, I'm gonna let you man the participants and I'm gonna mute the doorbell, okay? So just make sure you grab them. Because it's always distracting. Play, join, and leave sound. Okay. All right, beautiful. So we got 2 people that don't plan. That's okay. It's okay, no judgment here. All right, so that's good that we're starting all the way from the beginning because I felt like a lot of this was going to be a recap for some of you. But the first thing that you need to do when it comes to planning is do some quarterly planning. Now, this feels like planning for planning for planning, but it's necessary. In order to know where you're going, you kind of have to have some type of vision. And 3 months is a good chunk of time where it's big enough where it will challenge you, but small enough where you don't feel overwhelmed. So I always say start with quarterly planning. At a minimum, know what you're trying to do for the year, right? And if you really want to get like jiggy with it, have an idea for like 5 years where you want your company to go. Big, big, big dreams and dial it back. Because most people, when they don't know what to work on, it's because they don't know what their goals are. If you know what your goals are, it becomes very simple. Does this task get me to my goal? Yes or no? That's a priority, right? It's a matter of not knowing what direction you're heading in. So I want you guys to raise your hand. You can either raise your literal hand or inside of Zoom. Do you do quarterly planning currently? Hey, Angela. No one does quarterly planning. Not even you, Ashita. You're supposed to be my star player. You were the plant.
I do business quarterly planning, but not so much like for myself and just getting overall organized. So more like for your business versus for myself as a person. And
yeah, no, I got you.
Where I'm going.
We got to change that. We got to change that because even if we're just talking about from I do planning in my personal life as well. Like it's very important that you plan so that you know. I can show you guys my annual goals from like 2016. I've been planning since I was probably like, me and my sister have always kind of done it. Probably since I was maybe like 22. I'm also a Capricorn. Angela, who also probably is raising her hand and she did, is a Capricorn. We plan, like Capricorns plan. That's what we do. But it's important that you even if just from a manifestation standpoint, if you believe in manifestation, when you write something down on paper, it naturally will. Even if you don't believe in manifestation, you'll start to take steps in that direction. But if you have no idea what you're doing, there's no way for you to even know if you're on track. And then the sad part is you just beat yourself up about the progress that you're not making towards the goal that you did not set. It's just kind of insane. So definitely make some time to just get clear about what you want to accomplish for the rest of this year. Even just right now is a perfect time to do semi-annual planning, which is this: how do I want to finish this year? 2022 is about to end, y'all. It's going to zoom right on past. How do you want to finish? Angela said, I can plan the hell yeah out of something. Yeah, definitely.
But I'm with Kelly on this. I'm a Gemini. We can wing it for sure. We can walk blind and we can, jump off and land on our feet.
Yeah, for sure. And don't get me wrong, Capricorns have a tendency to overplan. And I have had to do some, and I know Angela and I have talked about this. We've kind of been in this perfectionism, recovery almost. So there is a level of too much, but both of us kind of need to meet in the center. So I constantly check myself, and you're going to see it even in this deck, right? I constantly check myself to make sure I'm not over planning and that I at least have an idea of what we're trying to accomplish and why. Okay, so definitely somewhere in between, but at least at a high level. It doesn't have to be like task by task, which is why I am very hesitant about teaching people how to plan, because you really have to find what works for you. So I say take all of this entire deck as a grain of salt, pick what you like or things that you want to try, and then try it. Commit to it at least, I would say at least a month, because any new habit takes time to build. Commit to it, and then if you don't like it, change it. But don't change it and be like, oh, it didn't work for me like a few days later, because all of this stuff that I do today, to be perfectly honest, was very hard for me to build as a habit. But now it's just like part of me. All right, so when we're talking about planning quarterly, this is, again, not super crazy. I try to keep things very light. You want to set 1 to 3 initiatives or projects or big rocks. I call them different things depending on how I'm feeling, per month, or even for the quarter, if you will. So one larger size project. This should not be social media, right? If it's social media content planning for the month, if that's one project, or for the quarter, that's one project. It shouldn't be like such small tasks that just you get done really quickly. Okay, we put a note on here. It depends on your team size and capacity. So if you have a team, then you need to maybe increase that or decrease it depending on your team's capacity. But 1 to 3, I feel, is a nice amount where you're not, overwhelming yourself or your team. Stay results and goal driven. This is very important. Again, if you don't know where you're heading, right? If you don't know what the goal is overall, how can you know when you missed it? And so make sure these initiatives or focuses are always pointing towards somewhere. So when you have, let's say you got 3 focuses, they need to be going towards your goal, right? And I said that in the beginning. If it does not meet, let's say if you want to, let's use Kelly. Kelly, you said you're going to start selling in people's stores. Maybe this is your first one, right? So maybe now you want to identify a list of other stores that you can sell in, or other strategic partnerships that you can build, right? So that might be a whole project for you to tackle in a quarter. Does this go towards your goal? Yeah, it's going to help you make sales. One of your goals, by the way, G&E stands for growth and expansion goals. One of your growth and expansion goals is going to be sales. So it's going to be goal driven, if that makes sense. Versus a lot of times, I feel a lot of us entrepreneurs, business owners, freelancers, creatives, we just do stuff. We just be doing stuff. No one's even asking for it. I mean, I'm guilty. I look back at stuff I'm doing sometimes like, why are we doing this? So make sure your goals are result or goal driven, meaning they're getting you to some larger purpose in your company. Okay. And obviously make them SMART. If you don't know what SMART is, I definitely recommend doing some research. It's very helpful. It has for specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time bound. It's the basics of setting really good, clear goals, and it will help you tremendously. We could do a whole workshop on SMART, but somebody else is doing that. There's so many YouTube videos. If you don't know what it is, just look it up. Okay, so then you're gonna have your quarter, drill down into the month, right? So this is what I do every single month. You're gonna review your quarterly goals. What is the focus? So I put goals or focus because sometimes my goals are more of a focus of what our number one priority is. So for example, the second month of every single quarter, our focus is content creation, right? So we batch quarterly, every single quarter, we batch content for Color Addict and Boss Bitch Instagrams. And so one of our focuses is just content, right? Content creation, getting all the content done, versus that's not necessarily a goal. So I kind of use different language depending on what they are. Then you're going to add these projects to your project management tool. We use Trello and create tasks that are 90 minutes or less. No task should take more than a day, okay? Especially when you're tracking work for yourself. This is not for a team. This is for yourself. If you're doing tasks that take more than a day, you likely will make small little steps of progress and feel like you're not doing anything. The reason why you love your to-do list is because they're usually quick tasks and you like checking them off, right? And then finally, this is all the prep work to weekly, by the way. We haven't even got into structuring your weekly. These are some ideas to start doing on a monthly, quarterly, as needed basis. Backlog grooming. So if you have attended my Trello workshop, then you know that I believe in the backlog. I have a project management background, by the way. And so a backlog is essentially a list of shit you want to do at some point in the future. It is that simple. So anytime you have an idea at 2:00 in the morning, it's not to say that you need to work on that this week. It's an easy way to distract yourself. We call it productive procrastination. Angela, your hand's still raised. Did you want to say something, or was that from before?
Sorry, that was from before. I'll put it down. No problem. Sorry.
You're good. So we call it productive procrastination. When you are working, but not working on the things you should be working on. And so therefore, again, you feel like you're not being productive, or you're doing things, but not what you should be doing. So backlog grooming, backlog is the place for things to go and die. Just kidding. That's why we need to be doing grooming. You need to make sure you're looking at this list. So if you have a to-do list, look at it, review it on a regular basis, remove duplicates, make things clearer. Ask yourself, is this still relevant? So if you have something on there, it happens to us on my team all the time. They'll be like, what's this task? I'll be like, I don't know. And I wrote it. I don't know. Just delete it, right? All the time. Because a lot of times it's an idea and I threw it down. If it doesn't make sense, listen, if it's important, it will come back. Do not spin your wheels over and over and over and over and over trying to remember what this thing is. If it's important, it will always resurface. And then prioritize and delegate whenever possible, okay? A little scratch coming. All right, so now we're getting into weekly. So all that, keep that as a note as things that you want to consider when you're talking about structuring your week, how to manage all this giant workload that you have. If you don't have a giant workload, then we need to talk about something else, because we all got things to do. But we're going to talk about brain dumps. So I'm going to drink some water. You guys put in the chat, how do you keep track of the work you need to do?
I'm almost beginning to feel like, Kelly, you and I might be twins. Literally.
Yeah, I think the same.
All right. Well, it's perfect time for a break too. Okay, so we have Trello, emails, paper list with dates, added to calendar tool, Trello and notebook. Gotta love the good old notebook. create to-do lists in Notion and in craft documents. What's craft documents?
It's like, it's almost like a fancier kind of word.
I'm gonna take a quick
That's
note down.
elements of like, I can't really do anything else like it, but you can kind of, I like stuff kind of decorated and you can kind of move it around, and they have, but it's just like a note-taking kind of, or document, you can create documents with it, and like knowledge bases and wikis and things like that.
It like ClickUp.
I haven't used ClickUp. ClickUp is kind of like a project management kind of thing, right? I've never used it.
Yeah, I feel like everything's a project management tool these days. Yeah. Everything has a task tracker of some sort. We should just tell you how important this stuff is, right? Like, I think if everyone's doing it, there's probably some validity to it, to some degree. But yeah, I'm gonna look into it. I'll put a note down.
It's a Mac thing. I think you said last time you were a Mac user, so yeah, download it, and you can find it in the Mac.
Okay.
If you're interested.
Yeah, I'm definitely a Mac user. All right, so we're gonna get into when and why to use the brain dump. So I have a physical copy here. We have these. You don't necessarily need this. This is just a good guide, and it's all cute and stuff. But a brain dump, you use it as needed or on a weekly basis when you're feeling overwhelmed and when you don't know what to work on less. The reason why is because you're likely overwhelmed because, again, lack of visibility of your work and knowing what to work on next. So if you have all these tasks in your head, right? Oh, I got to do this. I got to do this. Your brain is not prioritizing them, by the way. They're just random thoughts coming across. I got to walk the dog. I got to go feed the dog. I got to do this. In addition to all the work you got to do for your job, for your clients, it's all up here. And the truth is, I'm sorry, your brain is not a database. You are not a computer. Okay. It is not meant to store stuff. That's why you feel overwhelmed, because you feel like you have to keep reminding yourself, oh, I have to do that. Oh, I have to do that. Oh, I have to do that. Instead of just putting it into a place, a project management tool or system that will remind you when these things have to be done, right? When you start actually using your tools, and this is a note for one of my clients, Aquania, who's not here, which I would have picked on her if she was, but she already said she's going to watch the recording. When you don't use your tools, then it's hard to rely on them. But if you start 100% relying on them, then you will feel the ease that I feel, and that there's 2 D's in brain dump. The ease that I feel when you actually put things there. So it's hard for me to say, if you don't use project management systems and I tell you to put your work there, it's hard for you to feel that ease of like, okay, now I can rely on this tool, because the tool is unreliable because you are unreliable using the tool. So I say this to say you have to invest time and commit to trying a project management system for an extended amount of time, wholeheartedly, like everything in there, so that you can truly trust that the tool is the source of truth for your work. My team knows everything is in Trello. Trello is the source of truth. If it's not in Trello, it's not being worked on. And that's just truly how I feel. That's the visibility that I need in order to feel productive on what I'm doing. Okay, so make sure you track. You don't have to track like every little thing, like sent this email to this person, but the larger tasks that you keep dropping, you have to be able to track them. All right, but back to the brain dump. We're gonna talk about how to actually use this sheet. Okay, so there's some rules. All right, when I first used to talk about the brain dump, I never would talk about the rules, which I realized is really important, because I realized you guys were using it completely wrong. Or not completely wrong, but you were breaking the rules. So no technology, no to-do list, no nothing. Okay, if you can go in the bathroom or some room that doesn't have any sticky notes or nothing, you're gonna write down, first create your categories. We have test ones on the actual template, but create your own, okay? And you're gonna go and review each category, set a 15-minute timer total. The goal is not to make these things pretty. It's just chicken scratch, okay? And I usually have an example of one filled out, but I forgot to grab it. Use prompts if you need to. The second page of the dump has different questions to get your ball rolling, but that's the only thing you should have. the whole purpose of this exercise is to get everything that's top of mind, that's bothering you, that's keeping you up at night, get it onto paper so that we can prioritize it and put it into a project management system that we will then trust to move everything else forward. Okay, so you're going to review each of these categories. So one of mine is sales activities. What do I need to do in sales? Do I have to send a proposal to someone? Are there anyone I need to follow up with? Has someone sent me an email that I probably need to respond to? So make sure that you're just throwing them out because they're up here. Trust me, you'll be surprised how much stuff you just have just loose in your brain. Okay, and once you're done, once the 15 minutes is done, you're going to use this key that's at the top. It's also on the screen. Okay, and this key is a little bit different than the one that's on the screen, but use the triangle for anything that's repeating. Okay, if it's a repeating task, that means it's something to automate, to streamline, to document, and put it on part of your work blocks or your admin task list. It's something that just needs to be done that you shouldn't even be worried about. It should be scheduled where it's just happening. A good example is if you do social media creation, let's say you do it every week. For you, I'm sorry. But if you do it every single week, then it should be every Monday, I do social media content creation. And that's it. You're not doing this. It's not something to keep bothering you, right? It's scheduled and it's going to happen because you trust yourself to do what you say you will do. Okay. And then the second thing is an M for must do priorities. So all of my sales stuff is an M. If anything is revenue generating, you put a big old M by it because you have to do it. It's obviously what's going to keep your business, open. But there might be other things that must do. Maybe you need to hire someone. Maybe you need to fire someone. Whatever is M, you put a M, or I'm sorry, whatever is must do, you put an M by it. And then I go a little bit further. I put a star next to anything that is automate or delegate. So this is a fun way. If you have a team, I do this all the time. If you have a team, I can actually show you a brain dump it's not pretty though, but if you have a team, right, anything that you can give to them, put a star by it. And look, this is from last week. This was my brain dump. This is on a different worksheet though, right? Sometimes I just use a regular piece of paper, y'all. But this is a brain dump. And then look, there's stars by it. I don't know if your stuff is backwards, but it's backwards on my screen. Is that backwards? Not that you could read it, but can you read the word closed? Like, is that backwards or no?
Yeah, no, we can read it clear.
Okay, I just want to see if it was backwards or not. Not that you can read my chicken scratch, but the point is, have a system where you can quickly, like for example, those star items were exactly what I brought to my core sync, which is with my core team. I brought them to them the next day and I was like, hey, I need to do this, I need to do that. And now they're all out of sight, out of mind. I'm not worried about them anymore. Okay. So the key point of the brain dump is to stop relying on your brain. Your brain will fail you every single time. It has already failed you. How many times have you said, oh, I forgot to do that? If you've never said that, then just end this call and you don't even need to do weekly planning. You don't even need to be here. If you've never said I forgot, then you don't need to ever do this. All right, so we're running out of time, but I wanted to quickly demo the focus sheet before we get into the calendar blocking. And I'm just going to quickly show you guys it, and then we'll maybe have to schedule it. We started a little bit late because of the time issue, but I forgot I pulled it up on my desktop.
Chrissy, super quick. Brandy's asking, how often do you suggest we do a brain dump?
At least weekly, but as needed. Anytime you feel overwhelmed, stop everything. Close the computer down. Set a 15-minute block on your timer and just write everything out on your brain. It's because you're relying too heavily on this. Anytime I feel overwhelmed, I just jot it all down. So I would say start weekly until you no longer need it weekly. Like, I don't do it weekly. I do it as needed when I'm overwhelmed, or maybe like every 2 weeks as needed. But we're just getting started. Thank you, Ashita. Angela says, cello is life for sure. Okay, so this is the focus sheet. This is another item in our store. It is a freebie, I believe. And I wanted to just quickly show you how I use this to track sales and again, do some more weekly planning. So we've drilled everything down right now. If we're keeping track of where we are in the planning process, we have a whole list of things we need to do. We have some clear remember the must do, right? We have a clear must do. So now you're going to put your must do's here on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, okay? If you've attended any of my sales workshops, we have one coming up as well. But if you attended any, you know what these things are. I won't go over that. This also helps you track your sales, your active client projects and customers, but definitely feel free to download this, but I want to show you what's here. And then at the end of the week, you track your results, okay? So this is your sales tracker here, okay? But this is kind of a step in my planning process, and I didn't want to gloss over this, but at some point you need to say when you're going to do each thing before you get into the calendar. So that's what I wanted to show this. I like to keep things on paper first, and then I put them into technology. Everyone thinks because I work in tech that I don't use paper. Y'all, I can't even make this. This is sitting right here. This was not a prop, okay? Like, I use paper. I just make sure that I put it in technology at some point because I can't search this, right? If you ask me a note from a meeting I had earlier, I can't search and find it, okay? All right, so feel free to download that if you need it. If it looks interesting to you, feel free. All right, so we're gonna talk about calendar blocking. This is something that I found very helpful, but last chat prompt, I believe. How much are you guys using your calendar? Just curious. These are perfect water breaks. I'm actually gonna drink energy drink instead. Feel free to unmute too. These are chat prompts, but you guys can talk as well. Angela says 5, Capricorn, 2, 4, and 3. Okay. Don't use it for birthdays. Aw. 5 and 6. Okay. I love it. Well, I use mine for everything, y'all. I don't have the luxury anymore. At some point, especially if you are a service-based business, you have no choice because you're going to be pulled in a million directions. And even if you're not, so for example, Kelly, those strategic partnership conversations, those things will start taking up your calendar and you'll have to be a little bit more organized with your time. So just understand that it's a luxury if you're anywhere before like 3, it's a luxury. In due time, it will not be a choice. All right, so when you're doing your calendar blocking, the first thing you want to do, everyone knows what calendar blocking is, right? Okay, beautiful. So the first thing you want to do is set recurring and repeating blocks on your calendar, okay? Because this is where you're going to get realistic with the actual time you have available. If you looked at that blank space and you just start putting all the stuff we just planned and put must-do priorities on there, it's unrealistic because you got other stuff to do, right? So sales activities, if you're committing to a 4x4, if you have no idea what that is, attend one of our sales workshops. But marketing, again, if you're doing content creation or engaging on social media, which you should be, make sure you're including that on there. Engagement, guys, is really important. Client communication and updates. Inbox 0, please maintain your emails. Okay, client work, your job, make sure you put your job on there, whatever your job is. So Kelly, for example, yours is going to be product development, or just building bracelets, whatever you want to call it, charm creation, whatever that piece is. Break that down into chunks where they're just happening. You're just showing up to work every day, already knowing what needs to be done. Your planning meetings, your team meetings, anything that's recurring, keep that on the calendar. Then and only then will you add your project task from your monthly or quarterly or your focus sheet, okay? Don't forget to add in those personal tasks as well. So cleaning, laundry, I got everything on my calendar, guys. I'll show you my calendar. It looks terrible right now because I was out for 2 days, so it looks very crazy, but make sure you add all those things in there. You color code things. I'll show you what mine are and how I use the color code system in a second. And then turn on notifications. I put an asterisk there. I do not turn on notifications. However, when I first started, I did. I don't turn on notifications now because it is now a practice. It's like second nature to me now to live by my calendar. Like, I just know where to show up because of my calendar. I also have different tools. Like if I'm in a meeting, it pops up. You guys attended that last workshop we did with the tech hacks. I have a tool that looks at my calendar and tells me where I need to be, and it just pops up on my screen. I have stuff like that. I don't turn on notifications because my calendar looks like this. And if I was getting notified that many times, I would not be very happy. So this is my calendar. We're in the overflow for the workshop. As you guys see, we go over every time. It's expected though. You see, it's on the calendar. Okay, we understand that we need overflow and we're going to do a retro after this. So Gabby and I are going to meet and say, how can we make this better? Blah, 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 all that fun stuff. You guys are, it's half and half of that time. Okay. But this is how my calendar starts. Okay, so this is next week so far. The light blue is any meeting that I'm in. Also, my calendar is open to the world to schedule things. So I have to keep mine up to date. It's not even an option. And so you'll see like this darker purple is actually my personal calendar. This blue is a work block, something I'm doing on a repeating basis. My team and I are now playing around with the idea of Chrissy having 4-day work weeks, meaning that I will be working on the business on Friday. So that's really fun. Angela, check that out. Why sleeping? I used to push sleeping on there because I wanted to make sure that I know I need 7 hours of sleep. And so if you work backwards, I don't have it on here now anymore, but I used to. You can go back in time and see my old calendar. I used to start with that because here's the thing. If you need 7 hours of sleep to work backwards, right? You need to wind down before bed. You probably need to eat before bed. You probably have another list of things to do before bed. So to get realistic of what you actually can get in a night, you have to block it off. So for example, let's say if I want to be in bed by 7, that means I have this time to do whatever I need to do. So blocking things off is not to necessarily track the work, guys. Change the mindset from tracking the work more to getting realistic about how much time is actually in a day. This is especially important if you are working a 9 to 5. If you are still working for someone else, put that on your calendar because you're telling yourself you have 2 hours a day and you really don't. When are you going to eat? When are you going to walk your dog? When are you going to talk to your friend? When are you going to? I literally have my mom will literally be like, can you check your calendar for this day at this time? I'm not even joking. I call her right now. People have learned that I have now, it was not always this way. I was very resistant when I was trying calendar blocking. I'm trying to tell you, I was very resistant. I was like, this sucks. But it's because I was using it to track work versus be realistic with the amount of time that I have. It's a difference. The way that I'm applying it, at least, I'm not sure what other people say, but I use it more to be realistic, right? Like if you ask me right now, Chrissy, I need you to do something, I'm going to ask myself, okay, how long will it take? If it's going to take me an hour and a half, I can't get it done until Thursday. Just like that. I can get it done Thursday by 3:30. It's to be realistic with what time you have. What's very important to me is to honor my commitments. If I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. And if I'm going to try to get as close to whenever I said I would do it by. Okay, it's to help you be more realistic. Don't use it as a task management tool. Some people use this task management. Don't do that. You will stop doing it immediately because that's just tedious. I hate tracking time and task and micromanaging things. Despite being Capricorn, I do not value micromanagement. But that's a good question. I started doing that too, life-changing, yes. When you work backwards, I mean, then you're realistic. I used to have a sleep block here. I really did, but now I don't. I have the start of my day. I also know how much time it takes me to work out, how much time. Calendar blocking is how I learned I can't get dressed in 20 minutes. How many of you think you can get dressed quickly? You cannot. You cannot. It takes me a minimum, trust me, it takes me a minimum of 45 minutes.
Okay, that's scary because that's how I Yeah, I went through that experience a while ago.
Yeah.
Yep. You really think you can get stuff done. It's like, oh, it's only gonna take me,
Yeah,
no, you
no.
gotta brush your teeth, you gotta comb your hair. What if
Yeah.
something you throw on isn't working that day? Or yep.
Yeah. So calendar blocking is how I got realistic with what I was saying, because if it's on my calendar and I'm saying, okay, I'm gonna sit down at 9:15 and do my emails inbox, but I keep showing up at 9:30, 10 o'clock. Wait a minute, something's taking me a lot longer. And so this is how you get realistic. This is how you master your schedule. This is how you master yourself. It is a very commendable trait to always be where you say you will be and to be there on time. If you're still struggling with being late, try calendar blocking, because you will see, oh, I canceled it this week. I had an appointment, but anytime my team can tell you, oh, here's one right here. I have commute blocks. All right. Because I know it's going to take me time to get somewhere. And then guess what I do? So this is the commute, but I'm already coming from somewhere else, so I don't need it. But usually if there's a commute here and I know I got to get dressed, I'll put get ready, because I know, okay, I'm going to work backwards, and that's how I'm there on time. I used to be late to everything, y'all, everything. I went over my color codes. My light blue is meetings. The purple is something new I'm messing with. That just means client work. And red is usually just to get my attention. So I have birthdays in red, Angela's live in red, and prep for my IG live or any prep calls I have to be on. It's like, hey, you're gonna be on camera. Pro tip: when you stay ready, you never have to get ready. So even if it's a prep thing on my calendar, I look calendar or camera presentable. All right, we're wrapping up here. So okay, perfect. Angela says she's got to revisit and revamp color codes. Definitely. If you start ignoring your color codes, it's time to redo them. They should tell you something. Because I used to color code way too much. Like, oh, if it's this client, it's gonna be, that's too much. Just to have an idea of what you're trying to get out of the color codes. Don't color code too much. It can get fun, right? And get real pretty, but then when it gets real pretty, it's real confusing. Just keep it simple. Light blue means I gotta be in a call with someone. All right, so winding down here. Excuse me, at the end of the week, because we can't talk about structuring the week and starting the week without finishing the week. So now we're getting into retro and reset. These are probably two new terms to you, something that I've been doing for years. So your retro, I do this every time you guys just saw it on my calendar. It said retro for the workshop. You're gonna ask yourself at the end of every single week, especially for the first month, do not skip this. Do not skip this until you're a pro. What went well? What didn't go so well? How can we improve? Pay attention to what didn't get done. Why didn't it get done? Is it because it's not important? Is it because you didn't make time? Is it because there wasn't a block on the calendar? And pivot accordingly. Do not skip the retrospectives. Okay, that's what retro stands for. And then reset, which is really fun. I now do resets monthly because I cannot commit to weekly because my calendar be crazy. Y'all saw it. But you have no excuse. Try weekly first. During the reset, it's just setting yourself up for the next week. Clear your downloads folder, y'all. That downloads, look at Kelly. That downloads folder, you download freebies or you downloaded different things. Clear your desktop. You guys see, I have nothing on my desktop. I have one item and it's for this workshop. It's the weekly focus. Clear your desktop. It's not a good way. It's not a productive way of managing shortcuts. All right. And if it is, then only keep the ones, if it is for you, I should say, then only keep the ones that you need. If you're not touching it every day, probably doesn't need to be a desktop folder. Your Drive folder. So I use Google Drive, but any client management system, any document storage type of things, you want to go in and clean them up to keep them maintained. And then inbox zero, your Slack, your email, your text, your DMs, social media comments, clear them to zero every single week so that you start the next week, one, well-informed because people are messaging you, and two, with a blank slate. All right. And some extra reset tasks. For example, I move all my notes into technology because I don't trust my notes. I have a whole case, oh, you can't see it, whole case of like notebooks that are completely full, but those things are in Trello somewhere where I can search them or wherever they need to be, not necessarily Trello. But don't rely on your notes, because if I asked you, hey, that meeting we had 2 weeks ago, what did you write down about this thing? You're not going to be able, you're going to be flipping for days. Put them into some technology that can store them and make them searchable. Okay. Review your books, your payments, expenses. As a business, of course, that's super necessary. You should be at least glancing at those. Review and update your project management tool. And pay yourself, please, at a minimum. You know, if you pay yourself monthly, great. But make sure that this is a good reminder to keep doing this, okay? All right, so we have a workshop coming up at the end of August, how to close the deal. It'll be part of our sales series, if you will. But make sure you guys at least try to commit to calendar blocking for at least a week. I'm sorry, for at least a month. Just try very hard. Trust me, I'm not joking. When I first did it, it was very, very hard. I hated it. I did not like it. But now I live by my calendar. So it takes a mindset change. Do not use it as task management. Do not track every single little thing on your calendar, but do track realistically the things you do every single day. So you can be realistic about the time you actually have. Okay, so I am here. Any questions, comments, concerns, overwhelm, do a brain dump? Just kidding. Anything that I can help you guys with. I'm going to check in with each of you too. I want to know that you're calendar blocking and that you at least tried it.
I have a question. So I've been learning to manage my ADHD well, and I've learned that setting a specific time to do something isn't going to happen for me. It just isn't. Do you know any online calendar blocking that I can do without times? Like I had the option to put a time in or an option to take it out. Like I need this amount of time to do stuff during the day, but not I have to do this at 10 o'clock kind of a thing.
Yeah, but so for me, that's just more of a mindset shift, Kelly. No one's going to beat you if you don't do it. Like think of them as like blocks of time. If you start at 5:15, for example, my email inbox, that's from 9:15 to 10 a.m. does not mean I'm sitting down. And if I sit down at 9:16, no one's going to spank me. It's a mindset shift. Don't use it as task management. Use it more to be realistic about what you're supposed to be doing during certain times. Doesn't time blocks, okay, not specific times. If you want to say you're going to be doing, for you, if this is an issue for you, I would say just do like 2 to 3 hour blocks, like big chunks of time of what types of things you'll be doing. Keep it more flexible for you. So maybe we make it like, give me some examples of your type of work, like what type of tasks you're talking about.
So things like I have clients that do custom stuff, so I have to do their stuff almost every day. And then I've been trying to, like this week or this month, I've been working on getting my Christmas socials done. So I've been trying to do a little bit of social media planning every day. And then I still haven't cleaned up from like I made like some Comic-Con costumes. I haven't cleaned up my house yet from that. I need to put that on my schedule. So just kind of like stuff like that.
Okay, so perfect. So like how you're kind of thinking, and I think this is a perfect example of what I'm saying not to do. Okay, so I'm gonna go to Boss Bitch calendar because that calendar is not that significant. Give me 2 seconds, y'all. I'm just gonna do a quick demo of this, of what I mean. So what you're thinking, Kelly, is you will go in. Oh, excuse me. Let me move my Zoom thing. Darn it. Take off my calendar. All right. So you would go in and you would say, from this time, I'm working on client 1, right? And then this time I'm working on client 2, right? Shoot. I don't know why it's doing that, guys. Right? Is that what you're thinking? like you work on this, and then I'm going to do my social media here. Right? Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah.
Like you go in and plan? That's not what I'm saying. This is a perfect example. What I'm saying, guys, instead, so she just said all of the stuff, by the way, if we did the brain dump, we know that these are repeating tasks, right? So for example, you might say every day from 10, whenever you, I know you don't start this early, but I'm just going to use this for an example. Every day I'm going to do client customs, and I'm going to make a repeating, where is the repeating? Repeat every single weekday. Like that. Don't worry about who you're doing at that time. That sounds weird. But just know that this is during this block of time is when you're going to work on client customs. And then maybe you say every Tuesday and Thursday, social media. If someone else wants to throw out something else, we can build this calendar out. Let me make this repeating every Tuesday and Thursday. Every Tuesday and Thursday, every week. So when you have client A come, you can tell client, and if you want to, fill these in the future, you can, but I'm not saying to use this as a task management. I'm saying to be realistic with the amount of time you have to spend towards things every single week. Right. So if client A comes in, you say, okay, client A, I'm going to be able to get you my next slot, which is Wednesday. Obviously, this is a fake example, right? If you want to change it and put client A there, you go right ahead. But I'm not saying you have to use this as a task management system. But at least when B and C come in, you can say, oh, no, client, we're going to have to do you next week and the next week. Don't keep it so rigid where you're worried about the times. The times are irrelevant. I have no idea what time it is right now. I just know where I'm supposed to be. And I know what I'm supposed to be doing. I have no idea. And so I just looked up when I said, I don't know what time it is. I have no idea what time it was. So it's not about this rigid clock in, clock out system. We work for ourselves. We got out of that for a reason. You need to just know what is expected of you each and every day. If you are right here, say, for example, you set up some time with Chrissy and we go over. And now you can just say, okay, I either need to move this down or schedule this to another day. It's more to give you flexibility and be realistic with the time it takes to get things done, not to be that was the confusion that I got with it as well. I'm trying to tell you, I was tracking every little thing. I even went as far as I set up my Trello to automatically put blocks of time on my calendar. Oh my God, that was a nightmare. Don't use it for task management. Use it for just blocking of what should be done and when. But keep it flexible. If you know you need flexibility, say, I know I'm going to give yourself a grace period. I know I'm going to be here around 10. And if I don't have any work, then I work on something else. Okay, does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
But as far as to answer your question directly, as far as a tool that doesn't allow it or that allows without the times, I don't know of one, but you could always just use like a checklist then and just say, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, this is what I'm going to get done. Maybe for you, you just stop right at the focus sheet and say, these are the things I'm going to accomplish today. Calendar blocking is not for everyone, for sure. It's definitely not for everyone.
But I'd like to add this because I think, like I said, I think Kelly and I are very similar. But Kelly, what helps is that when you put it on the calendar, it helps me not overcommit, because what I found I was doing was I was saying yes to everybody because I had no visibility on how much work I had taken on or commitments. So like meetings or even like meeting my friend for lunch, I put it on the calendar so that one, I don't forget that I'm supposed to meet her. If I'm supposed to make something and take it or, some sort of planning, then I know that. And then if I know something is coming up, then I need to work things around or being able to just say no. Or, like Chrissy was saying, telling a new client, I'd love to take you on, but I now can only work on your custom next Wednesday. If that works, great. If it doesn't or whatever, have that conversation, because I was tending to overcommit, frankly. And I don't want to work 12 hours a day. Otherwise, I would have stayed in corporate, right? In a job.
Right.
So,
And I know, Kelly, you work some harsh hours, but I'm pretty sure it's feast or famine, right? You're doing this still, where sometimes you burn out and do not much. And so this will help kind of think even out, right? And so same thing with like going to lunch, for example, or going to dinner. I realized going to dinner with my family always takes 3 hours, no matter what, no matter where we are. Lunch always takes a minimum of an hour and a half. At commute time, that's now 2-3 hours out of my day. I can't always commit to that. So it helps you be more realistic because you're going to have to consciously move things around. It's not so much of tracking every little time, but let's just say you say, yeah, mom, let's go to lunch. I got an hour here. Real quick, when you have to keep moving the social media block, you'll be like, lunch is probably taking longer than an hour with mom. So it's more to get clarity. Okay, do not use as task management. Don't punish yourself like that. It's rough. I used to do that because that was my interpretation of it as well. Any other questions, comments, concerns? I survived. A whole workshop with COVID and phlegm in my throat. No questions. You guys are going to send me screenshots of your beautiful calendars and all the things that you don't have time to do. Once you do it, you're going to realize you don't have any time. That's the truth of the matter. Everybody says you have time for what you make time for. When you're organized, you realize you don't have time. You don't. You can shuffle things around. You can make some time, but the time is very limited. Things always take longer. You won't see a lot of like 30-minute or 20-minute time blocks on my calendar because nothing really takes that long. It usually takes a lot longer. It takes you 30 minutes sometimes to just pull up whatever you're trying to do. All right, ladies. Well, I'm going to leave you with this. If you guys have any other questions, you know how to reach me. Again, we have a workshop at the end of August, how to close the deal. It's going to be talking about in consultation. So if you're a service-based business and you are having those conversations around sales and how to move forward, how to prep you for those calls, how to close on the call. It's possible. Okay. Get you out of the habit of sending too many proposals and just saying, these are my packages, make a decision. It's not that simple, but we can definitely talk about it during the workshop. Okay. I appreciate you guys for attending. Sorry again about the time confusion. We'll make sure whoever is watching the recording that we send this to you. And again, if you have any questions, let me know. And I will see you guys next month.
Thanks. Feel better.
Yeah, no problem.
thank you.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.